And we're in John chapter 9, the New King James Version, John chapter 9, verse 1. Now as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, neither his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said these things, he spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva. And he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who previously had seen that he was blind said, is it not this he who sat and begged? Some said, this is he. Others said, he is like him. He said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, how were your eyes opened? He answered and said, a man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought him who formerly was blind to the Pharisees. Now it was a Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also asked him again how he had received his sight. He said to them, he put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and I see. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, how can a man who is a sinner do such signs? And there was a division among them. They said to the blind man again, what do you say about him because he opened your eyes? He said, he is a prophet. But the Jews did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight until they called the parents of him who had received his sight. And they asked them, saying, is this your son who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered them and said, we know that this is our son and that he was born blind. But by what means he now sees, we do not know, or who opened his eyes, we do not know. He is of age, ask him. He will speak for himself. His parents said these things because they feared the Jews. For the Jews had agreed already that if anyone confessed that he was Christ, he would put out of the synagogue. Therefore his parents said, he is of age, ask him. So they again called the man who was blind and said to him, give God the glory. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know. One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see. Then they said to him again, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they reviled him and said, you are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spoke to Moses. As for this fellow, we do not know where he is from. The man answered and said to them, why, this is a marvelous thing that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the whole world began, it has been unheard of that anyone opened the eyes of the one who was born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, you were completely born in sins, and are now you teaching us? And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said to him, do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him? And Jesus said to him, you have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. Then he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may be blind. Then some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, are we blind also? Jesus said to them, if you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains. All right, that's John chapter 9. And I just want to have you consider one thing in John chapter 9, besides the miracle of Jesus casting out or healing the blind man with spit and saliva. So the whole gospel's almost wrapped up in this one blind man's healing. Just listen to the words that he says. He asked him, do you want to become his disciples? So he already realized that, hey, you need to be this guy's disciple. That's Jesus' disciple. That's the first thing. So a blind man that can't see, has been born blind, has never seen anything. He's never seen a person's face. He's never seen, the food he eats. He never seen anything, right? Now that he sees, right, this is some serious faith. You really have to consider this and think about this. This is some serious faith. He has never seen anything until Jesus opens his eyes, right? So I'm sure somebody had to lead him when he had the saliva and the clay mixed in his eyes to go to the pool of Siloam. Maybe he had some assistance, but then came back and then they're taking, well, I need to show you here. And then, then they're questioning him. They bring the parents and the first thing he says, you guys don't want to listen to me. And they're like, listen to what? You've been blind your whole life. I don't even know if you're telling the truth, right? And the parents confirm it. But, the first things that he goes, you want to hear it? Why do you want to Here, let me read it again. It's hilarious. He answered him, I told you already, and you did not listen. Why? Do you want to hear it again? Do you want to hear it again? Do you want to be his disciples? Right? Think about the faith of never seeing anything, and this man opened his eyes. So you got to remember, he still didn't see Jesus either. He still didn't see Jesus. He got the clay and the spit put in his eyes. He went down to the pool of Siloam, right? And then Jesus wasn't there. Then Jesus came back, and then he asked them, remember? He asked them, he goes, where can I find him? And he says, do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and says, who is he, Lord, that I might believe in him? Right? So he knew what happened. He knew what happened. And then he saw Jesus for the first time. And Jesus said to him, you have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. Isn't that amazing? But go back up to, or just go right from all right, so he says, do you want to become his daughter? And they reviled him. They got mad. They reviled him and said, you are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. How did this blind man know that he is confessing wants to be Jesus' disciple? And it sounds like he started one of the first evangelism thing and says, hey, do you guys want to be his disciples too? Right? That's evangelism. That's faith. And he still hadn't seen Jesus yet. He says, we know that God spoke to Moses, and for this fellow, we do not know where he is from. This is what the Pharisees said. And the man answered and said to them, why? This is a marvelous thing that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Right? I was born from birth, or blind from birth, and he opened my eyes. This is a marvelous thing. Now we know that God doesn't hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. This guy's preaching the gospel for the first time of him receiving sight, of seeing anything, right? He probably listened to people read the Torah, read the Old Testament, I would say, Isaiah, all those. And he says, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone opened the eyes of one who was born blind. You think this guy was seeking to see if he can get healed? You think he might have known about that pool of Bethesda, right? Where it got stirred up. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. So this blind man has more faith than most people. Think about all the things that he just said. Never seen anything. Just by what he heard. He had to trust people to tell him things, to guide him, to walk him, or whatever the case may be. He had to trust people. He had to have faith in people. Now he had a faith in a God Well, at this time, he sees him as a man, right? But he knew he was from God because what he had did. And he still hadn't even seen him yet. And he said, this was a marvelous thing that he did. Do you want to be a worshiper of God? This man could do, if he wasn't from God, he couldn't do anything. And he says, you were, and then they answered and said to him, I could see him just like, you were completely born in sins and you are teaching us? Like, you don't know nothing. But he knew everything. Just from that experience of being healed in his eyes. Now think about this. And this is the last thing I want you to consider. Now, you're completely born in sins and you're teaching us, and they cast them out. Jesus heard that they had cast them out, and when he found them, he said to him, do you believe in the Son of God? When you pray for people and when you pray for healing, and even if it's a spiritual blindness, when you pray for that in the name of Jesus and remove the scales from somebody's eyes, they're going to see, and they're going to see of the one who was sent from God, and they're going to believe. And then you can ask, do you believe in the Son of God? And he said, who is he, Lord, that I may believe in him? I want to see him. I can see now. I want to see him. And Jesus said, you have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. Jesus had compassion on that man that was born blind, and neither him nor his parents sinned. Right? And Jesus said later, about to the Pharisees, you didn't see it, and those who may see may be blind. Right? So he came to bring sight to the blind. And then that the people who could see that are missing it is going to be made blind. And then Jesus says, if you were born blind, if you were blind, you wouldn't have any sin because you had to just trust people. You couldn't see things that would make it desirable for your eyes. I mean, think about it. Consider that. This blind man preached the gospel after receiving his sight for the first time. Isn't that